Welcome to The Explainer. So glad you're joining us today. We constantly hear this heavy drumbeat in the news, right? Democracy is in peril, our institutions are failing. It's a lot. But today, we're totally flipping that script. We're taking a global and frankly optimistic look at how our governance systems are being actively upgraded right now, specifically focusing on 2024 through 2026. This isn't just high-level theory. It's about the tangible mechanics of reform that are changing the game as we speak. So get comfortable and let's jump right in.
So you might be wondering, how exactly is democracy fighting back in 2026? Well, it's a completely fascinating dual narrative. Yes, there are absolutely real, serious global threats to democratic institutions. But on the flip side, and this is exactly what we're zeroing in on today, there is a massive, tangible wave of innovation meeting those threats head-on. Communities and nations are realizing that safeguarding democracy isn't just a passive state of being. It's a highly active, ongoing design process. Basically, when the system gets tested, the system adapts.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting 4 key pillars: transforming the ballot box, the participatory budgeting boom, 15 years of open gov, and finally, AI defending democracy.
Okay, let's dive into part 1, transforming the ballot box. Let's look at the very baseline of civic participation, how we vote. 60. That number carries a massive amount of weight right now. As the landmark Federal Voting Rights Act hits its 60th anniversary in the U.S., we're seeing a truly profound shift. Recent Supreme Court rulings like the Louisiana versus Calais decision regarding redistricting have weakened some of those long-standing federal protections. When you really think about it, a 60-year-old framework is being tested like never before, and it's creating a very sudden, very significant shift in the legal landscape of voting rights across the country. And because those federal safeguards have weakened, we're actually witnessing a massive cause and effect reaction playing out in real time. In direct response to that retreating federal power, there's been a meteoric rise of state voting rights acts. We're neutrally observing a huge shift in legal jurisdiction here. State-level civil rights laws are stepping in to fill the gap. State legislators are essentially saying, look, if the federal umbrella is closing, we need to build our own local roofs to protect against voter suppression and vote dilution.
Let's look at what these state VRAs mean on the ground, because this is where the real impact happens. Colorado, for example, enacted a law that significantly expands Spanish language access, making sure a massive demographic can actually participate without arbitrary barriers. Over in New York, they've advanced legislation specifically engineered to target local voter suppression tactics. Meanwhile, Delaware and Maryland are actively pushing brand new protections, giving local communities much stronger legal tools to challenge unfair systems. The big takeaway? Local lawmakers aren't waiting for a federal rescue. They're building their own defense lines.
But reform isn't just about who gets to vote. It's fundamentally about how we vote. Enter ranked choice voting, or RCV. You might be familiar with it, but as a quick refresher, instead of a winner-take-all pick, you rank candidates by your preference, first, second, third choice. If your top choice doesn't get enough votes and gets eliminated, your ballot isn't just thrown out. Actually, your backup choice now counts. It's a mechanism specifically designed to reduce that age-old problem of vote splitting, and it really empowers voters to cast a much more expressive, nuanced ballot. And RCV isn't just some academic theory discussed in political science classes. 18. In 2025 alone, 18 different cities and counties successfully used this exact system. We're talking massive, complex administrative feats pulled off seamlessly in major hubs, from New York City to Minneapolis to Salt Lake City. Retraining an entire voting populace and updating the tallying infrastructure in 18 distinct jurisdictions, that shows absolutely incredible momentum for this kind of structural upgrade. Take Washington, D.C., for example. The implementation there definitely wasn't without friction. Local officials actually had to reject legislative efforts that tried to delay a voter-approved initiative, but they stood their ground, and because of that, D.C. is officially rolling out ranked choice voting for its 2026 primary elections. It perfectly illustrates real-world political friction being overcome by the ultimate triumph of voter will. Alternative voting methods are actively transitioning right now into a normal, practiced part of everyday election administration.
All right, moving on to Section 2, the participatory budgeting boom. So we're shifting our focus now from the mechanics of the ballot box to the expansion of direct citizen financial power. Participatory budgeting, or PB, is a democratic process where community members directly decide how to spend a portion of a public budget. I really want to emphasize what a massive conceptual leap this is. It moves civic engagement way beyond just showing up on election day once every few years, and it actually brings everyday citizens into the active, day-to-day governance of public funds. And this movement is incredibly diverse geographically. In Paris, the PB process is so robust, it's actually funding major civic institutions. Over in Brandenburg, Germany, they've hyper-focused on youth participation, bringing young people directly into local problem solving way before they even reach voting age. And across Poland, it's being fully integrated into baseline municipal governance. We're watching this concept evolve globally from a niche, localized experiment into a permanent, funded institution. If you want to truly grasp the scale of this, just pause and take in this number: 136 million. In Pune, India, the municipal corporation saw citizens directly allocate 136 crore rupees, which is 1.36 billion rupees, for tangible local improvements. Residents submitted thousands of their own proposals to fund exactly what their neighborhoods needed: better roads, upgraded drainage, efficient waste management, beautiful local parks. This is real, substantial money yielding real, immediate neighborhood results, driven entirely by the people who live there. Now, let's do a quick reality check, because the research clearly shows these programs don't just run on good intentions. For a participatory budgeting program to survive beyond a flashy pilot phase, it needs 4 non-negotiable elements. You absolutely need durable political support from current leaders. You need adequate, dedicated funding resources so the promised money is actually there. You must have deep institutional commitment and, honestly, perhaps most importantly, incredibly clear administrative staff procedures. Empowering the public requires massive behind-the-scenes administrative capacity to actually last over the long term. Which brings us to Section 3, 15 years of Open Gov. Zooming out to a global perspective, international networks are serving as a structural defense for democracy. And it's a story of incredible sustained momentum. The Open Government Partnership, or OGP, was founded back in 2011. Fast forward to May 2025, and a massive OpenGov week mobilized reformers across 40 different countries. In October 2025, global leaders convened in Spain. By March 2026, over 200 distinct organizations gathered for the people-powered convening in Nairobi, leading right into OpenGov Week 2026. This 15-year milestone is profound. We're looking at the evolution of a massive global mechanism designed strictly for accountability and civic oversight. When global leaders convened in Spain during that timeline, their core message was totally unambiguous. They stated that transparency, participation, and accountability are a democratic defense against authoritarian pressures. The critical takeaway here is a total shift in mindset. Open government is no longer viewed as just some dry, technical reform or a nice-to-have upgrade. It's now recognized globally as an essential, highly practical defense mechanism to ensure institutional resilience on the world stage. And that leads perfectly into our final pillar, Section 4, AI Defending Democracy. Up to this point, we've talked a lot about the analog nature of voting laws, paper ballots, and state legislation. Now, let's contrast that with a highly technical, futuristic approach. The OECD reports that governments are actively utilizing artificial intelligence right now to analyze incredibly large volumes of citizen input. Basically, AI can sift through thousands of dense public consultation documents in ways humans just can't match for speed or pattern recognition. The OECD views AI as a potentially powerful catalyst for democratic innovation, but, and this is a big but, they attach a major caveat. The algorithms and data must remain strictly transparent, accountable, and deeply inclusive. This gets incredibly practical when we look at 2 entirely different applications of this technology in the real world. On one hand, you have a top-down, anti-corruption approach. Hungary's Integrity Authority has reportedly developed AI tools to meticulously trace public funds and investigate alleged corruption from the Orban era. On the flip side, you have a bottom-up empowerment approach. In Brazil, smart cities like São Paulo are studying the use of generative AI to actually help everyday residents formulate and write their own robust proposals for participatory budgeting. It's the exact same core technology being wielded for 2 beautifully different methods of democratic defense. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? From the shifting state legislatures to the global transparency summits to algorithms scanning budget proposals, it all boils down to this core thesis. Democracy is a design choice that requires continuous active upgrading. Whether a society is using ranked paper ballots to ensure every voice is heard, drafting new state-level civil rights legislation, or deploying advanced AI to track public money, safeguarding our systems is never passive. It requires constant, proactive design choices from dedicated people. Which brings us to a final, provocative thought to leave you with today. Will AI and local civic power be enough to safeguard democracy's next decade? As federal protections shift and technology rapidly advances, the balance of power is evolving right before our very eyes. The tools for reform are absolutely there, and innovators around the globe are working harder than ever to adapt them. I hope this explainer gave you a clear, structured understanding of exactly how they're doing it. Keep learning, keep asking the hard questions, and we'll see you next time.